Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hivemind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. People are missing some crucial information here. You know, I talk to a lot of people who are educated, they're intelligent, some within my family as well, and they don't seem to understand the gravity of Donald Trump being replaced by Joe Biden. They don't seem to understand, in terms of America's standing, the West's standing, and more importantly, in terms of world peace and fighting back against these corrupt dictatorships that seek world domination across the globe. Joe Biden is in the pocket, folks, and Donald Trump is the last hope. He is the last stand against these, frankly, evil entities. It's no surprise that places like Hong Kong and Taiwan, Vietnam, and others stand to lose an incredible amount with Joe Biden out of office. Hong Kong is being taken over actively by the CCP as we speak. No one's speaking about it. Joe Biden will most likely let Taiwan fall to the Chinese dictatorship, and the only person who's gone after China and has stood up for these nations is Donald Trump. He's the only one. There's a lot to lose here. The president knows this, and that's why he absolutely refuses to give up. Regardless of how hopeless you might get, and me included, the president seems to never lose hope and never stop fighting. And that's something commendable, and it's also something he's done for the last 4 years. It's one of the main reasons why, as somebody who's not exactly a conservative, maybe conservative leaning, I definitely do not relate to the GOP whatsoever. But even with my political standing, I get behind this president because, man, is he a fighter. And so we got to talk about exactly that. We got to talk about the president standing up, refusing to give up on America, and more importantly, refusing to give up on the world. People make him seem as if he's the most evil entity since 1940s Germany, but the reality is, he's one of the most positive forces for good that's fought against true evil since day one in office. And so there's a lot at stake here, and there's also a lot to talk about in this video. So we're going to get into all of it, but before we do, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers, so of course support the channel and support others like me who are doing the same thing and are actively being suppressed on this platform. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright, so you gotta love headlines like this, folks. President Donald Trump calls for protest in DC on January 6th, says, "Be there, it will be wild." And this is something that I've been talking about for a while, guys. The left, they really band together. They really fight. The only reason that the left can suppress us and do everything that they do on social media is because, frankly, people on the right are cowards. The politicians, the people, we let it happen. I mean, just think about all of the conservative commentators. We have all these attacks on free speech and they just talk about it, but they don't do anything about it, maybe even myself included. It's time to really push back against authoritarianism and suppression of information and suppression of speech. Of course, I don't mean violently, but it's time to make noise. You know, the left is often on the wrong side of history, but they make so much noise, they fight, they have such a machine of activism that they get things done. We don't. And so we get rolled over at every single point and turn. Every conservative on all of these platforms is more worried about protecting their neck and bending over to leftist authoritarianism and the tech oligarchs than they are speaking up and fighting for those who have the boots on their neck. I could name a couple names, but I won't. You guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And you know what? Even President Donald Trump could do more, and I hope that he does going forward. Going after 230 is not enough. We have the numbers, we just need to make our voices heard. And you know, speaking of voices heard, there's a lot of voices that are not being heard in the modern day. There's people, in fact, entire nations that stand to lose a lot under a Joe Biden presidency. You know, the president just released this video titled "Fight for Trump, Save America, Save the World." I'll show you guys just a really short snippet of it because I think there's some copyright stuff in it. And the notion of save America, save the world really rings true to me. It's kind of like what I was just talking about. Let's put that further into perspective. We got a tweet right over here from Kanekoa the Great. He says, "Scenes from a Taiwanese Stop the Steal and Fight for Trump rally today. President Trump is the leader of a global populist movement fighting against socialism, communism, and a political elite which no longer represents we the people. China stands at Taiwan's doorstep." And check this video out. Meanwhile, Joe Biden was part of an administration who over 8 years unchained China and was responsible for some of the worst foreign policy decisions in recent American history that led to less freedom, more oppression, and the rise of these communist superpowers across the globe. I'm not an expert on it, so I can't break it down effectively, but if you guys watched Tim Pool's podcast the other night with the people behind the YouTube channel China Uncensored, they'll really explain it quite well. I watched the whole thing and it was fascinating, and it really creates the imagery of who Joe Biden is, and more importantly, who Joe Biden is putting in his cabinet, because of course we know Joe Biden is just a puppet. He's the face. Those around him, those within his cabinet, those behind the door, are the ones who are going to make the serious decisions that are going to affect the outcome of the world. We're not talking anymore about the US. This is about the world. And once again, the president is the only one fighting. You know, how many times have I mentioned, under a Joe Biden presidency, get used to never seeing titles like this ever again. US moves against China and supporters of the illegitimate Maduro regime. The United States has sanctioned XCLE Soluciones Biométricas CA for their support of the illegitimate Maduro regime's fraudulent December 6th legislative elections. And it goes on and on and on, once again fighting for the people and against these communist dictatorships who run sham elections over and over again. And once again, the president's on the right side protecting democracy, fighting for the voice of the people, while the Democrats want to shove everything under a rug and pretend like it's not happening. We've got this story right over here. Pompeo, we can say pretty clearly that it was the Russians who engaged in cyber attack, the most recent one targeting US data. And the question is, we had 4 years of Russia, Trump is a Manchurian candidate, Russia this, Russia that, election interference, election integrity, blah, blah, blah. But it only mattered when it was a narrative to go and attack the president, whether a false narrative or not. What about now? All of a sudden, because Joe Biden wins, the problem doesn't exist anymore? Of course it doesn't exist, because from their perspective, this time, it might have benefited Joe Biden. So why would they care if China interfered in the election and if Russia is attacking? Why would they care if they got what they wanted? It's all about ends justifying the means. It's about the global elite and not American sovereignty and American interests. They are puppets, globalist puppets, controlled by foreign interests. And if you don't believe it, you better start believing real quick before it's too late and the boot is on your neck. And speaking of, quote, Russian interference in the 2016 election, Bill Barr recently said that the CIA did not spy on Donald Trump's campaign, or at least that's how the media is framing it, as you see in this Daily Mail, as well as other publications' article headlines. Once again, of course, spinning a narrative instead of telling the truth. Bill Barr did in fact say that what the CIA did, from what he gathered, seemed legitimate. However, he did say that the FBI is still under investigation and there's some serious stuff to go after. He also stated that the whole Russia collusion thing that the Democrats drummed up in 2016 was totally flawed, there's no proof of it, and that the way Robert Mueller acted was totally wrong. But of course, they won't tell you that one now, will they? Their game is misinformation, disinformation, setting a narrative, and as much as they try to blame the president for folks questioning the election as if we are just blind sheep who cannot think for ourselves, and just because the president is questioning things, everyone who supports him is just following their master, Donald Trump, in the Cult 45. It's a complete joke. They've created a serious issue, and I believe it's calculated, and it was done in collusion with foreign entities trying to sow discord within the West. The reality is, right now we have a poll from Rasmussen that finds only 56% of Americans say Joe Biden is their president. That's not good. That's not like third world sham election bad, but I mean, it's getting there. That's losing faith in democracy. That is, as Yuri said, the demoralization of a nation. That's what it's about. And once again, the only person who has fought against these entities is President Donald Trump. He's the only one who's fought for freedom, freedom of expression, freedom across the globe, populism for the people, and not the globalist elites who run and rule the people. And I cannot imagine 4 years, or frankly a future, without President Trump. That doesn't make me a cult member. In my mind, that makes me a logical thinker who appreciates the first president in a long time, who didn't start a war, who fought for the people and fought for foreign countries who have China on their doorstep. Seems pretty logical to me. But that's what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. Of course, you guys know the drill. Just please support the channel as well as other channels like mine who have taken a massive hit since the November algorithm change. Sticks Hexenhammer comes to mind. Support him, share his videos, subscribe to his channel if you aren't already. If you aren't, subscribe to Sticks. I mean, you might be a psycho at this point. But support independent creators, of course, on the platform. I want to thank you guys for watching. I got to get back to work, and I'll see you on the next one.